Okay, I just started this game and it's a 30 minutes game. My opponent is rated 2058. Now my idea is to comment this game while I play it, and this is a variation that I don't meet very much, but my idea is to make a commentary to this game, and then I'm going to how to say it, I'm going to edit the video in such a way that it's not going to be a video of 1 hour, so you don't need to have a look at the complete thinking time. So it's just, well, it's an let's say an experiment from now, so to see if this is going to work well or not. So alright, anyway, my knight is attacked now, and e6 looks like a very logical reaction here, because my bishop will attack c4, c5 I mean, so e6. It must be, I'm not sure if this is theory, but I think most probably it is. Knight to c3, okay. So now I could take on c3, give him a double pawn. Can I take on c3 and then take simply on c5? Is it really that simple? Knight takes c3 looks very good. It will have a lead in the development. If I take and he takes with the d pawn, then his bishop can come out very easily. I think it must be good. I'll take here. He retakes with the b pawn. Okay. That's strange, because I thought this bishop would be developed this on this diagonal, but perhaps he wants to bring it to b2. Well, anyway, right now I must take on c5 before he plays d4. So bishop takes c5. d4 is of course the most logical reaction, gaining some space and chasing my bishop. But let's have a good thought here, because there are different options. One candidate move is to retreat the bishop to e7. Another idea would be to play bishop to b6, and another idea is to play d7 d5, attacking his bishop, and if he takes, then I retake with my bishop. And that looks like the most active reaction. Now if I play d5, yes, I need to have a pawn in the center, so d5 is a good idea. Yeah, d5. Now his bishop is attacked. My opponent, by the way, is called Ryan Moccasin from Singapore. From Singapore. Okay, so he takes my bishop, then of course my reaction is to take his bishop. He takes my queen, let's retake immediately. And now, okay, he comes with a check. King e8 I think is the most healthy reaction to this. Yeah, king e8. And now actually I have won a pawn. So I'm a pawn up, but the thing is that he has a slight lead in development. Now he's threatening checkmating 1 on d8, so I need either to play bishop to d7 or knight to d7. But bishop d7 is better, because my knight, I want to bring my knight to c6 later. Yes, bishop d7. Yep, bishop d7. So now I blocked all these threats. Okay, let's see, we have some audience here. David Emmanuel, 1264. Knight to f3. One idea is to play knight to c6. Another idea is to chase away this bishop from g5, because I would like to have later one of my rooks on d8, because it is the only open file. So playing h6 could be a good plan here. h6 is if bishop h4, then advancing g5, bishop goes to g3, and then I have the option of having a rook later on d8. So this would be, let's say, strategically a correct thing to do. So as you see, this position is not very tactical. We both have a double pawn here on the c file. I have a b pawn that he doesn't have. On the same, this same, let's say, pawn in advantage that I have, of course, means that it might be a target if the b file is open, but I always have b6, so this is not something to be worried about. Well, anyway, he went out with this bishop to h4. My idea was to play g5 right now. I don't know if bishop h4 is a good idea, what he did, because by playing bishop to h4 he cannot no longer play bishop to e3 to defend c5, so now knight to a6 wins a second pawn. Is this correct? Yes. Knight to a6. If he plays a rook to b1, I take on c5, and b7 is defended, so knight to a6 wins a second pawn. The strange thing is that we both have 30 minutes thinking time, and we are playing quite fast. We are already on move 14. He has only thought about 2 minutes. I've been thinking for 6.5 minutes. He only 2 minutes, but he's playing too fast. So he didn't look at this. I mean, this idea of bishop h4 is kind of, it's a bad idea. Bishop to e3 would have been better for him. Now perhaps rook to d4 to attack my pawn here. Rook d4. Can I play bishop to b5 then, or is it too risky? Yes, I could do that. He could play a4, bishop takes a4, rook takes c4, bishop b5 again, and if the rook goes away then I take here. d8 is well defended by my rook on a8. So this looks good for me. You see, this is one of the main themes in the Alekhine defense. Some people say Alekhine defense, but the correct pronunciation is the Alekhine defense. The main themes is that the white pawns advance so much that later they become vulnerable. So later black uses his pieces to attack these pawns that have advanced early in the game. Let's see if there is any. No, there's no chats from my opponent nor from the spectator. So he's taking his time to think. Okay, so he does what I thought that he would do. He plays rook to d4. So now my idea was to play bishop to b5. That was my first thought. Yes, bishop b5 looks good. Bishop b5, if rook takes, I'm sorry, if a4, bishop takes a4, rook takes c4, bishop to b5, rook back to d4, and then knight takes c5. Looks good. Yep, bishop b5. So now he's going to lose this pawn on c5. So, wait a minute, he has something else. He can advance the pawn from c5 to c6 now. c5, c6. If I take, yeah, exactly. I'm reading his mind. c5, c6. If I take with pawn, I'll have too many weak pawns. I don't want that. Perhaps it's better to play bishop takes c6. If he then takes on c4, I could either play bishop d5, rook goes to a4 to defend this a2 pawn. I'm afraid that if I play b takes c6, these pawns are going to be weak later, and my bishop is locked in. So the piece activity diminishes, and I don't think that then this pawn advantage that I have is worth so much. Yes, I need to keep my pawn structure as healthy as possible. So bishop takes c6. Okay, immediately he takes. Bishop d5 was my initial idea. On the other hand, his rook is not very well placed there. How about playing g5, bishop g3, and then castling kingside to play a rook to d8. So returning to my other plan after h6, g5, yes. So bishop g3 is the only move, unless he wants to sacrifice, but that would be a big mistake. He doesn't have any compensation then. So bishop g3, yes. And now my idea is to castle, or to play king to e7, perhaps king e7 instead of castling. King e7 followed by rook to d8. If I castle, he might start playing h4 perhaps. No, not really well. Knight goes to d4. So king e7. That's my idea. I think this is... Yes, I'll play king to e7 instead of castling. Castling queenside is another option. Castling queenside. Is it dangerous? Yeah, well, this open b file. I think my king will be safe in the center. So king e7. Because I have control over these light squares here. h4, yeah. He threatens to win. Pawn here. I cannot advance. Rook g8. Is that something? Rook g8 takes on g5. Pawn takes g5. Rook to g4. And I lose my g5 pawn. Perhaps bishop d5. If the rook goes away, for example, to a4, I could play knight to c5, attacking the rook and also threatening a check here. Bishop d5. Centralizing my bishop. Centralization is one of the strategical concepts that Aaron Nimzowitsch explains in his book My System. Centralization means that you bring your piece to the center of the board, because from there it has a much bigger range than on the outside the center. So where is he going with this rook? That's the question. If rook to d4 or rook to... Now if rook to d4 I could even take perhaps on a2. If I place a rook to a4 I can play knight to c5. What is he going to do? Whoa, rook to g4, So he wants to go for this pawn on g5. So he's giving me his pawn on a2. Interesting. I think this pawn on g5 I'll just have to give it. But first of all we need piece activity instead of pawn grabbing. So I think I'm going to play knight to c5. Yes, knight to c5 looks so well. Knight to c5 looks very good. To go with a knight either to d3 with check or to e4. Two strong places. And yes, he's going to take there. That's true. It's going to be an exciting game. Is it wise to take on h4 and then play knight c5 perhaps? If I take on h4, well, rook takes h4 and then h6 is going to fall, so if if I take on c5 and he takes my pawn on g5, I could take on f3 first and then retake. No, I cannot retake. Let's see. Knight to c5, pawn takes g5, bishop takes f3, g takes f3, pawn takes g5, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, rook takes g5. Difficult, but I need to activate my pieces. Okay, let's go for it. Knight to c5. After I had won this pawn in the opening, or right after the opening, I had the idea that this was going to be not a very difficult game, but it's getting complicated now. Yeah, he takes there. Take on f3. And his pawns will be doubled. So I will have a good knight against a bad bishop, because his bishop is looking at e5. His bishop is very bad. So that means that after trading this rook for this rook, I'm going to have my a rook on h8, because I will take back there. And that means that this rook will be active. My knight will be active against a passive bishop there. Bishop takes f3. Okay, and now I take on g5. He takes, I take again. And now he will take my pawn on g5, I guess. That looks to me like the most logical thing to... Oh no, he doesn't. He plays king to d2. King to d2. Can I defend my pawn on g5? Somehow. Rook h5. It's not really very active. How about the plan rook h1, rook a1, rook takes a2, and then advancing my a pawn? That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Simply giving this pawn here. He may have it. I'll just go for his a pawn. Now his rook cannot go to a4 because my knight is standing here. So this looks, yeah, this must be good. This must be good. Takes, okay. So now rook a1, yes, a1. What does he want? What does he want? I don't get it. He wants to go to c8, then king to d7. So I just can take now here with check. King goes away. Now how to continue. If can I advance my a pawn? a5, if he goes to c8 with his rook, then king to d7, then he goes back to f8 with his rook. This could be a problem, perhaps. No, my a pawn is too strong. My a pawn is something that he should be concerned about. I can even give this f7 pawn away. If he goes to c8, I go to d7 with my king, then rook f8, then I simply keep advancing. If he takes my pawn, I go to c6, and now you see this bishop is horrible. He cannot. He's such a bad bishop. Okay, now he activates it by giving a check. Okay, that's a bit better for him. Let's say he's improving his worst piece. But I think that my a pawn is going to be winning. Yes, he can take there. And now is bishop to d8 a threat? I always have knight a6 to defend. Can I play rook c2, threatening to take here, and also opening the passage for my pawn? Now he should play rook f8 or rook a8. But on the other hand, this is not going to get this pawn because it will be defended by my knight here. If he plays king here, is there a mate pattern here? If king goes here, rook here, check. If king goes here, is then b5 checkmate? Yes, it is. Oh wow, that's nice. Let's see. If he goes with his king to d4, rook d2 check. If he goes back, then I have a check here and capture his pawn. But the funny thing is that if he goes then with his king to c4, b7, b5 is checkmate. Okay, he doesn't. So now I can take here with check. I can do that anyway, because if he goes to the d file with his king, either d4 or d2, I have a check here and I capture his bishop. So I can simply take here. He must go to f4. Okay, he goes back there to e2. Now I could play knight a6. Looks like the most logical way to defend c7. There is no other way actually. I was thinking of, no, I cannot give that pawn away. Knight a6 is, wait a minute, but e6 is going to become vulnerable. But my pawn is faster. My pawn must be faster. Yeah, he advances that one. Wants to create. Now king here, or advancing my pawn. Advance my a pawn or play king to the center. defending e6. He cannot stop my pawn anyway. Or rook to c5 to advance the pawn and place my rook behind can also be a possible plan. Because the thing is that he could play f5, and if I take here he could advance this other pawn and then things become dangerous. So I think I must think of something against this f5 idea. So rook c5 or king to d5. Rook c5. I was first thinking about editing this video later so it doesn't become such a long video, but I think now that that is interesting to simply upload it completely. It's an exciting position. Well, my rook is attacked now. Check on c2. King f3. Okay, now. Yeah. Bring my king to the center. Soon I'll advance my pawn. He has no way to get there. I needed to bring my king here to prevent this f5 idea. Then I take with my king on e5. So I think he's in trouble now. I can advance my pawn, then later play my perhaps c7, c5 to block this diagonal, so my a pawn cannot advance. This looks good for me. Cannot stop my pass pawn. I don't see any way how he can stop my pass pawn. Well, by bringing his rook to h8, h1 and a8, but I have 3 connected pass pawns, so pawns will advance together, and this is just too dangerous for him. He doesn't have a chance of creating his own pass pawn here, so it was important to bring the king to d5. It was also important to bring my knight to a6. He resigns here. Okay, good game. Alright, let's have a short look then at the game. So he played this variation, advancing this. I believe it's called the chase variation. Chase variation because it chases away this knight, and now I've moved my knight 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the opening, of course, but the thing is that in the Alekhine defense the pawns of the opponent becomes weak. So here I win my first pawn. He does get a strong center. Perhaps he didn't see this d5 option, and I think that taking on c5 was also not the best thing to do. I think he should have moved this bishop away, so later he can play c4. But taking here, taking there, trading queens, well, I lose the right to castle, that's true, but on the other hand, since the queens are not on the board, it doesn't really matter, because it's not easy for him to start a king attack. Here I had actually two different plans. My first plan was to chase away this bishop so I can control d8, and when he moved this bishop to h4 I realized that this bishop was needed to defend c5, so I changed my mind, played knight to a6, and then after a few moves here I decided to return to my initial plan, to play g5, so then the square d8 is available for one of my rooks. h4 is a correct reaction. He needs to try to find counterplay here. Bishop d5, rook to g8, and this was an important moment. This was an important moment that I thought about activating all my pieces, so activating this knight instead of going to grab pawns like bishop takes a2. Perhaps that is still, perhaps is enough. Bishop takes a2 and then he takes. No, what I did was better, I think, to activate this piece, and then after he takes, first take on f3, so this diminishes the possibilities for him to create a pass pawn on the king's side. Trade, and then this idea that I had to go for the a2 pawn now with my rook. So rook a1, take rook h1, a1, and now I have really a better position, because after this my a pawn becomes very dangerous, and now I had to give the f7 pawn, but I could get this pawn on c3 and then defend my c7 point with the knight. This was important to prevent f5, so I can take on e5 with check again, now king to d5 with the same idea. Well, that was it. End of the game. Resignation. Alright, I hope you found this interesting. Leave your comments or questions on YouTube, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye, thank you.